This narrated nature journal flip through features a nature journaling challenge that was supposed to be for 1 month, and I had such an enthralling time with this easy nature journaling technique inspired by Lisa Spanglers Nature Spot challenge that I turned it into a year-long nature study in this mini nature journal. I'm Kathleen, and you can find other related mixed media journals linked in the description, including videos of some of these field notes being created and an explanation of how to create the tabs on a journal for yourself. At the end of this video, I'll also share what some of my other nature journals are and how to find videos about them. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and thanks for subscribing to Creative Solace Studios. So this is essentially a little nature journaling challenge watercolor swatch book. And let's jump right into this nature journal watercolor swatch book flip through. In the beginning of my nature journals, I like to include an introduction to explain what the journal is about, its purpose, and then at the end, you can also discover a lot through reflecting and coming up with a conclusion about what you learned, what you discovered through this nature journal technique or the nature journal field notes that you recorded. Self-reflection and self-growth through your art practices is a good thing. The premise of this daily nature journal process or daily nature journal practice is to be observing nature and carefully observing the colors in nature. Choose one observation each day and create a watercolor swatch book by mixing the colors, mixing a small blob of the colors that you see. All you're doing is recording the color. What an easy and fun way to create a keepsake journal of your experiences in nature. Leave a comment about what you could do after finishing this, what you could do with all these colors. What other project could this inspire? There's so many things that this could be a jump off point to do after this. Leave a comment and let me know some of your ideas. So this is recording your experiences of nature and experiments with color mixing. This can literally be a 5-minute art journaling experience where you can do backyard nature journaling, neighborhood nature journaling, or nature journaling field notes somewhere out and about in a park or on location somewhere. What colors have you observed in nature today? In the sky, on the ground, plants, animals, your food? This is literally open to customization, and this practice can fit however you want it to, or whatever nature journal experiences present themselves to you. Let's look at some of these 5-minute nature journaling challenge entries, and I'll share some of my techniques. So here's my introduction with a description about recording color swatches of things that I observe, and a quote from Lisa Spangler, Side Oats, about color spots are just little spots of color to mark your observations. I started off this practice where I thought, I'm gonna record a different color for every single entry. But as time went on, something that surprised me was how interesting it was to find the same color in different places. This lavender leaf is similar to a ponytail palm color. So that's one thing that I got out of it. The way that I set it up is to put the month and then the number by each circle. I started the book with observations of the sky. Most of the time I laid some water in a little circle so the paint would be contained in that circle, and most of it I dropped the paint colors and did the mixing right on this paper. I used Daniel Smith, Winsor Newton, and Paul Rubens watercolors. You could do this in mixed media as well. What was interesting about watercolors is that you don't completely have control over watercolors. They spread and granulate sometimes on their own. So also they can lighten after drying. So that's just an observation as I went through this to notice. So some examples of things that I recorded are rain clouds, an orange from my cousin's tree, the inside of the orange, the daytime moon in the sky when it was a waxing gibbous moon. I did try to put the time when I recorded the sky. Did you know that 100% cloud cover isn't completely as white as the paper? There's a little bit of color in that. Lots of observations. Here's the moon over here, and here's Mars. So some of these end up being a little bit abstract, and I did try to keep them originally just in the spot color, like the colors of these marigold petals. But then as I went on, I did get some details like, oh, the flower, the inside of this marigold has different patterns and colorations in it. Oh, this tulip, I can't resist painting a little bit of the leaf on the side of the flower itself. And oh, these pansies, I couldn't resist adding some detail in there. Some days, even though this seems easy, some days it is hard to get something every single day. So one way that I compensated for that is I broke up one observation into multiple days, like this male American widgeon duck. Well, look, here's the bill, here's colors on the head, here's body colors, and so I broke it up into multiple days. I did that with a number of different things, like this peacock. I've got neck, head and eye, beak, body, wing, tail feather. So I could stretch that observation out at a time when it was hard for me to record different things each day, or if something was just really fascinating and I wanted to break it down into all those colors. I do have some videos about some of these being painted, like the trunk of this date palm. And I did observe some garden observations. Here's my green pepper turning red out in the container garden. It really was captivating to make all these observations, from the smallest swallowtail butterfly wing to the teeny tiny center of a chamomile flower that was actually grown in my arrow garden, as well as my dill, cilantro, thyme, and some other herbs in my indoor container garden that's in a water container. So you could consider nature to whatever you choose. Let's see what are some different things that I ended up with. I did mostly watercolor, but once in a while on a couple of the entries, I did want to add some white details, like this carnelian crystal had some really nice patterns in it. So I used a white Signo, Uniball Signo white gel pen for that one. Here's an interesting one where I compared the same flat Italian parsley leaves, where some were healthy and some were unhealthy. So that was an interesting way to compare colors of the same plant in different conditions. I even painted the color of a dead leaf next. Once in a while, again, I strayed from the spot itself and did a little pattern of that cornflower or the bark of a fig tree. Just so many things to observe and compare. A little bit of the seed pods of the peacock flower. The shape was so interesting. And then I got into some foods, the berries, and comparing how different was a raspberry from a cherry to a grape. And then, like I said, when it dried, did it dry a little bit different too? Or when you really look at a banana slice, there's a little pattern inside of there also. Moving along, I was captivated by a raven. You think of a raven as being all black. Well, look carefully. Feathers, beak, feet, leg feathers are different from body feathers in the raven that I made friends with and observed. The eye. Have you gotten close enough to a raven to see the color of the inside of its mouth or under the wing cover feathers? So this was a really great way to lead to some in-depth, really mindful art practices, mindful nature journal practices, by focusing on these colors, looking carefully, staying present in that moment. And oh, here's, I did go to an Arizona Cardinals football game and I couldn't resist color swatching the color of that turf. What did the grass on that football field look like? how many different types of green are there in this book, and challenging myself to mix those different colors. Sometimes I mixed on a palette, but I did like mixing right onto the book itself. Adding some of the spines and patterns of cactus, and comparing a fallen fruit split open or a fruit that was on a cactus. So many different things to look at, many different observations to make. Some of the colors are very dependent on the time of the year or the time of the day, such as a sky color or even a leaf or a fruit color. And sometimes maybe you would see that color on the same thing all year long. So that was an interesting thing to think about. Does time change these colors? Does angle of the sun change these colors? I'll also mention that on days when I didn't go outside, I observed our dogs, our cattle dog and our pug, my mom's coffee. Does her coffee look different than mine? So nature journaling can take up so many different forms, and really how it interests you, but also what presents itself to you. Like, oh, there was some bird poop, probably a house finch, and I recorded that. Then at the end of a nature journal or other journal, I do enjoy thinking about, woohoo, I'm finished, what did I learn? And I will mention that if you noticed, I put years on the back of some of these tabs because I did start at 1 year and then I trailed off and got busy with other projects, and I finished it up a 2nd year. So if that happens, it's okay. I made it to the end, to the conclusion. Things that I learned were, like I mentioned, comparing what color is the same or different in different things that I observed. My observation skills and coloring mixing skills were enriched. I also learned that it's okay to work from photographs. Some of these were done right in the field, especially the ones that were in the backyard, some in the neighborhood, and other times I was walking around the block and I just quick snapped a picture of something that I wanted to record later. Then this could be morphed into so many different types of projects. There could be, the obvious one is to paint the thing that you observed, like the vinca flower opening. But how else could you do this to use these different colors? How could you compare which colors you like to put together on a different kind of a project? What other ways are there of recording? Wouldn't it be interesting to do these nature spots in stripes? And so it fills up a whole page almost like a weaving or a fabric of colors. Just so many different ways to nature journal, and I really appreciated this Nature Spots Challenge, nature journaling technique, watercolor mixing, watercolor journaling as part of my nature journal. Thanks so much for taking a look at this fun journaling project and nature journaling with me today as I shared this Nature Journal Spots Challenge flip through in this handmade book. If you're interested in taking a look at some of my other nature journaling videos, I have an Inktober version of a nature journal that's in another video, my notes from the Wild Wonder Nature Journaling Conference, awesome conference with John Muir Laws and other nature journal educators. And this is a Nature Numbers November challenge where I was challenged to use numbers in different ways each day through the month of November. So there's some other nature journal tutorials and information videos and a nature journal playlist here at Creative Solace Studios. Thanks for giving a thumbs up if you like this video and taking a look at the others too.